The yard at Blackstone Federal Prison had been loud just seconds earlier. Men shouting over a basketball game, guards pacing the towers, the hum of 1,000 restless bodies trapped behind concrete. But all of it fell silent the moment Liam, Ironjaw Creston stepped into the open sunlight. Every inmate on that yard understood one rule. When Ironjaw walks, you don't look him in the eyes. His tattoos were impossible to miss. Thick black symbols creeping up his neck, the words "In No Mercy" carved across his knuckles, and a snake wrapping around the side of his face like it wanted to crawl straight into his skull. Ironjaw wasn't just another inmate. He was the one even the lifers crossed the yard to avoid. And yet today, a guard was stupid enough, or brave enough, depending on who you asked, to try to stop him. Officer Daniels, fresh from another state, still believing the training videos, stepped into Ironjaw's path and told him he was out of bounds. 1,000 eyes froze on the scene. Ironjaw didn't speak. He didn't raise his voice. He just tilted his head in that slow, chilling way that meant something terrible was about to happen. Daniel's hand hovered near his radio, shaking. Then Ironjaw moved. It happened so fast that nobody, even the cameras, caught the moment he pulled the sharpened piece of metal from inside his waistband. All the yard saw was a flash of light, a sudden scream, and the officer dropping to his knees. Guard screamed down, down, down. Sirens exploded. The tower rifles locked on Ironjaw's skull. But Ironjaw didn't run. He didn't drop the weapon. He simply lifted his head, staring directly into the tower like he dared them to pull the trigger. Every inmate held his breath. Everyone knew what Ironjaw had done. Everyone knew what came next. Because Liam Creston wasn't just dangerous. He was #1 on the federal list of the top 10 most dangerous inmates in the United States. And this moment, this exact second, was about to trigger the biggest lockdown the prison system had seen in years. But the real question wasn't why Ironjaw attacked a guard. The real question was, who was he planning to take out next? And why were 9 other inmates, each just as deadly, suddenly being connected to the same terrifying chain of events that started on this yard? When the rifle lasers finally locked onto Ironjaw's head, the yard turned into a frozen battlefield. Guards poured in from every gate, tackling inmates to the ground, shouting orders nobody dared to ignore. Ironjaw stayed on his knees, hands behind his head, breathing slow, almost calm, like this entire moment had been rehearsed in his mind long before it happened. Blood from Officer Daniels stained the concrete in a dark pool, spreading toward the faded yard lines. Inmates stepped back from it like it was poisonous. Everyone knew that stabbing a guard wasn't just violence. It was declaring war on the entire Federal Bureau of Prisons. And if Ironjaw declared war, all of Blackstone was going to feel the consequences. 2 guards grabbed Ironjaw by his arms and yanked him up. His tattoos flexed as his muscles tightened. Sharp black lines across his shoulders, a wolf's head clawing up his spine, and matching bands circling his wrists like permanent shackles. Ironjaw looked straight ahead as they dragged him toward the gate, his eyes empty but aware, cold but focused. The inmates closest to the yard wall whispered to each other. They knew Ironjaw didn't attack on impulse. Ironjaw didn't need to prove anything. He had already earned his reputation years ago in a high-security unit where 3 men mysteriously disappeared after crossing him. Nothing random. Nothing sloppy. Everything calculated. So why Daniels? Why now? The yard lockdown hit instantly. Sirens blasted as every inmate was pushed back toward their units. The heavy steel doors slammed shut, echoing through the prison like thunder. The air inside the cell blocks felt different, tighter, hotter, as if the attack had sucked all the oxygen out of Blackstone. In cell 302, Jerome Switchblade Knox paced back and forth, his tattoos twitching with every nervous turn. A black scorpion stretched across his chest, a cracked halo around his neck, and a row of barbed wire circling his biceps. Unlike Ironjaw, Switchblade wasn't calm. He'd seen Ironjaw's eyes right before the attack, focused on something beyond the guard, like he wasn't stabbing Daniels, but warning someone else. Switchblade's heart thumped fast. He knew what everyone else was scared to say. Ironjaw didn't stab a guard because of the guard. He stabbed a guard to send a message. 2 cells down, Marcus Old Man Red Rayleigh, a lifer with a full-sleeve tattoo of fallen soldiers, sat on his bunk rubbing his hands together. His breathing was slow, but his eyes were sharp. He had survived 3 prison riots, 2 lockdown fires, and a gang purge that wiped out 6 men in one afternoon. And yet, even he looked unsettled. "I know that look," Old Man Red muttered to himself. "Something bigger's coming." Across the tier, in cell 214, Malik Ghostline, Serrano leaned against the cold wall, replaying the stabbing moment by moment. He remembered seeing Daniel shout, Ironjaw pause, the flash of metal, and the way Ironjaw's head turned right after, scanning the yard like he was checking if someone saw what they needed to see. Not fear, not chaos. Confirmation. Ghostline's cellmate, Torres, sat up on his bunk. His tattoo, a shark with red eyes, seemed to glare in the dim light. "What you think all this is?" Torres whispered. Ghostline didn't answer at first. He listened to the muffled shouting in the hallway, the rattling keys, the stomping boots of guards running toward the maximum security wing. Finally, he said, "This ain't about Daniels." Torres frowned. "Then what?" Ghostline pressed his tongue into his cheek as he thought. Ironjaw's glance after the attack had been too deliberate, too sharp. It was aimed at someone on the yard. When the lockdown hit, the unit lights flickered and fell into an eerie dim glow. The air buzzed with tension. Even the guards moved differently, faster, harder, gripping their radios like lifelines. 15 minutes passed, then 30, then an hour. The emergency intercom crackled to life. "All inmates remain in your cells. No movement, no speaking. Dinner suspended." The entire block erupted with groans and shouts, but the guards yelled them down. Ghostline listened closely. He could still hear the yard in his mind. Ironjaw staring at the tower rifles. Ironjaw staring at the yard fence. Ironjaw staring at. Ghostline's eyes widened. He remembered something. A tall man near the laundry fence had been staring back at Ironjaw without flinching. A man covered in black ink flames down both arms. A man with a skull tattoo on his throat and a reputation almost as violent as Ironjaw's. Rocco Hale, one of the top 10. A man who didn't fear anyone. Ghostline whispered under his breath. Ironjaw wasn't warning the guards. He was warning Rocco. But why? And about what? Before he could think further, heavy footsteps thundered down the tier. Ghostline peeked through the bars. 6 guards with riot shields were escorting someone. Ironjaw. His lip was cut, one eye swelling, but his face carried that same blank, cold stare. He didn't look beaten. He looked interested, like he was studying the inmates watching him. For a split second, Ghostline and Ironjaw's eyes met. It felt like being hit with winter air. Ironjaw slowed just enough to turn his head toward cell 214, toward Ghostline, and say in a low, clear voice, "Stay awake tonight." The guard shoved him forward, dragging him out of sight. The block went silent again. Torres mouthed, "Did he just talk to you?" Ghostline didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind raced. Ironjaw didn't talk to anybody unless it mattered. So why him? Why now? What was coming tonight? Before he could unravel it, the tier lights suddenly shut off. Just darkness. Black, suffocating silence. Then, a distant scream from the lower block. Another. Then another. Torres jumped off the bunk, backing against the wall. What is happening? Ghostline listened, heart hammering, because he understood something the second the scream started. Ironjaw didn't tell him to stay awake for no reason. Someone was moving through Blackstone. Someone who wasn't waiting for morning. Someone who had already started. And Ghostline realized something else, something far more terrifying. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't chaos. This was a hunt. And the hunt had begun the moment Ironjaw spilled the first drop of blood on the yard. The next scream was closer. Too close. Ghostline swallowed hard and whispered into the darkness. Something's coming. And tonight, Blackstone wouldn't sleep. The screams from the lower block didn't fade. They twisted through the darkness like something alive, something crawling up the concrete walls toward the higher tiers. Every inmate in cell block C pressed closer to their doors, straining to hear what was happening beneath them. No one dared call for a guard. Not tonight. Not after Ironjaw's warning. Ghostline stood perfectly still, eyes locked on the cell bars, trying to peel meaning from every sound echoing through the shadows. His breath came slow and shallow. Torres gripped the edge of the bunk so tightly his knuckles nearly tore through the tattoos across his fingers. Boots hit the metal stairs fast, heavy, angry. A guard's voice shouted for backup, but another scream drowned him out. A gate slammed somewhere below. A radio crackled, then cut off mid-sentence. Nobody cut off a radio, not unless something ripped it out of their hands. Ghostline pressed closer to the bars, feeling the cold metal against his face. His hearing sharpened, trained by years of surviving inside places where listening meant staying alive. There were 3 more screams. Then silence. Thick, unnatural, almost staged. Torres whispered, "What did Ironjaw mean by stay awake?" Ghostline shook his head. "I don't know. But whatever he knew, it's happening now." A sudden clang shot through the tier, like metal hitting metal. Every inmate jumped. A few cursed under their breath. Someone in a nearby cell asked if the power outage was planned, but the trembling in his voice gave away the answer. Nothing about tonight was planned. Minutes crawled by. The darkness felt heavier, as if it seeped into the skin. Ghostline could barely see Torres' outline across the cell. Then in the far distance, a single flashlight flicked on. A narrow beam of light swept slowly across the lower tiers as a guard advanced with his rifle raised. But what made the prisoners hold their breath wasn't the guard. It was the smell. Something metallic drifting through the vents. Warm, wet, fresh. Ghostline knew that smell. Everyone did. Blood. Not small fight blood. Not one man down blood. More. A lot more. Torres backed into the corner. "Bro, who's down there?" Ghostline didn't answer. But he already had a terrible suspicion. The list. The top 10. The most dangerous inmates in the system. Ironjaw was number 1. Rocco Hale was somewhere in the top 5. Miller, number 7, was found dead less than an hour ago. And now someone was hunting again. Another clang. Louder. Closer. Then a voice, low, trembling. "A guard. We need help down here. We have multiple." The sentence broke in half. A crash followed. Then nothing. Torres shook his head. No way. No way someone is doing this during a full lockdown. Ghostline stared into the darkness. Someone planned this because of the lockdown. Just then, the overhead speakers crackled and the lights flickered. A few bulbs fired on, buzzing, throwing dull yellow haze across the tier. Not full power, but enough to see the walkway and the cells below. Enough to see the blood smeared across the stairs leading down. A line of red, dragged, not splattered, dragged like someone had been pulled by their ankles. The stains marked each step in long streaks. Torres covered his mouth. Oh my God! Ghostline felt his heart climb into his throat. The blood trail stopped at the next landing, disappearing into the area where access doors led towards solitary and the mechanical room. Only one question mattered now. Who was taken? A voice down the tier finally broke the silence. "Hey, they pulled Clayton from B tier earlier. Did he ever come back?" Another inmate shouted back. "He's number 9 on the list." A third inmate cut in, voice thick with fear. "Bro, number 9 is gone." Ghostline swallowed hard. That made 3. Miller, Clayton, and whoever the screams belonged to. The top 10 list was shrinking. Heavy footsteps echoed again, but these belonged to guards. 8 of them stormed into the tier with shields raised and tasers out. Their faces were pale, shaken, not angry. That alone told the inmates everything. One guard yelled, "All prisoners step back from your doors." No one moved. No one argued. Everyone stepped back. Another guard pointed toward the stairs. "Nobody goes near that area. There's an ongoing breach." A younger guard, the one with the shaking hands, added, "This wasn't an inmate fight. Something else is happening." Ghostline felt a chill crawl up his spine. Something else. The words tasted wrong. Guards weren't supposed to admit fear. Not in front of inmates. Not ever. They pushed deeper into the block, moving toward the stairs, rifles raised, flashlights shaking as they aimed down. Ghostline watched every movement, every nervous twitch. Then the older guard, the sergeant, froze. His light hit something on the railing. Something carved into the metal. Fresh. Deep. Letters. A message. The sergeant leaned forward. His voice cracked as he read it aloud. 3 cleaned. 7 to go. A shiver rolled across the tier like a cold wave. Torres gasped. Bro, they're wiping out the whole list. Ghostline didn't blink. He couldn't. Ironjaw's warning replayed in his mind, word for word. Stay awake tonight. This wasn't a random killing spree. This was a purge. A planned, timed purge of the most dangerous inmates in the federal system, starting with Blackstone. The sergeant barked orders into his radio, demanding emergency reinforcements, calling for a full facility sweep. But the radio kept cutting out, hijacked by static. Someone was jamming the signal. Someone inside. Then a thundering slam shook the lower gate, loud enough to make inmates jump back. The guards spun toward the sound, flashlights raised. The slam came again. Harder. Something, or someone, was trying to break through the locked gate from the other side. Torres whispered, no. The third slam nearly bent the metal, and Ghostline felt the truth settle in his bones. Whoever had started this wasn't done. The final slam knocked the gate half off its hinges. It swung open just slightly, just enough for the guards to take a step back, lifting their weapons in panic. A single hand slid through the gap, covered in blood up to the wrist, slowly curling around the metal edge. The guards froze. The inmates fell silent. Ghostline felt the world stop. And then, the hand pushed the gate wider, inch by inch, as something stepped through the shadows behind it. Whoever was coming through wasn't supposed to be free, wasn't supposed to be alive, wasn't supposed to be walking at all. And the moment the face slipped into the dim light, everything in Ghostline's chest went cold, because he recognized the tattoos, the jagged lightning bolt on the cheek, the blacked-out forearms, the burned-in letters on the throat. The man stepping through the broken gate was inmate number 4 on the list, a man who was supposed to be in solitary, a man known for killing without a sound. His name was Damian Cross, and he was smiling. The morning after the riot threat scare, San Quentin feels like it's holding its breath. COs patrol in tighter formations. Inmates move slower, watching every shadow. The tension that usually just hums in the background now feels like a live wire, ready to snap at the slightest spark. Inside North Block, the echo of boots on concrete is sharper than usual. The prison's intercom crackles. Stand by for movement. That's when everything goes wrong. The setup. A group of inmates is being escorted through the narrow corridor leading toward the chow hall. Normally a routine movement, but today 2 rival groups somehow end up in the same hallway at the same time. Even the guards later say they don't understand how it happened. But the inmates? They say it wasn't an accident. They say someone wanted a clash. 2 men stare each other down. One from a white prison gang, the other from a black prison car. No words. Just pure hatred boiling over years of tension. A CO steps forward to separate them. Too late. The first strike. An inmate slips his hand from his sleeve, revealing a sharpened metal shank crafted from a broken food service tray. He lunges. The target ducks. The blade cuts across the arm of a nearby inmate instead, sending blood splattering across the wall like red paint. The hallway erupts. Fists. Kicks. Shanks flashing in the fluorescent light. The corridor becomes a war zone. Co-response. Officers scream, "Get down! Get down now!" But no one listens because no one can. It's pure chaos. Bodies are crashing into each other. People are slipping in blood. The sound is a violent mix of metal scraping, shouting, and boots dragging across concrete. A CO deploys pepper spray, creating a burning fog that fills the narrow space. Another officer fires a 40mm foam round, striking an inmate in the shoulder, dropping him instantly. But the fight keeps going. The turning point. One inmate, later identified as Omar, a lifer with nothing to lose, shoves a smaller prisoner against the wall. He raises a long metal spike and goes for the kill shot. At the last second, another inmate, unexpected, unrelated to either side, grabs Omar's wrist, saving the man's life. Why? Because even inside San Quentin, some men have a line they won't cross. COs finally manage to push through the crowd. 2 officers pin Omar to the ground while another kicks the shank out of his hand. Within seconds, more backup floods the hallway. Shields, handcuffs, yelling, dragging. It's over. But the damage is done. The aftermath. The corridor is a disaster. Pools of blood, dropped weapons, torn uniforms, and inmates coughing violently from the pepper spray cloud suspended in the air. Medics rush in. Sirens echo through the unit. 4 inmates are taken out on stretchers. 2 guards are injured. 1 prisoner is in critical condition. The leadership at San Quentin has no choice. They shut down the entire prison. Full lockdown. Cells sealed. No movement. No yard. No visits. And just like that, the thin line holding San Quentin together snaps, and now the entire prison is sliding into chaos. Because while the riot is contained, the whisper spreading through the tiers is far more dangerous. This wasn't random. Someone staged it. More is coming. And deep inside San Quentin, the truth is already circulating. This was only the beginning. San Quentin returned to silence, but it wasn't peace. Cells slammed shut, movement froze, and the prison sank into a lockdown so deep that even the guards felt the weight of it. Yet inside those concrete walls, rumors kept spreading like wildfire. Some inmates swore the clash was orchestrated. Others believed a bigger war was coming. And a few insisted the violence was only a distraction from something darker lurking behind the scenes. But the truth? The truth remains trapped behind steel doors and razor wire. What we saw was only a fraction, one violent episode in a place built on decades of tension, survival, and secrets. A place where every decision can mean life or death. A place where silence speaks louder than screams. And as the lockdown lights dim over San Quentin, one reality becomes impossible to ignore. If this was just the beginning, what comes next might reshape the prison forever. If you want to see the next chapter of this real-life investigation, the stories behind the inmates, the guards, and the forces controlling America's most infamous prisons, subscribe, like, and stay tuned. Because the next revelation is coming, and it's going to shake everything. If you want, I can create.